to be a blessing to the people around me, to the youth, to teenagers, to children, to the old people, married men and women. And conversation with Lizzy came up. And what is it to the people around me, to the youth? And what is this teenagers, conversation children, with Lizzy? People, married men and women. And what is this conversation with Lizzy? It is about us talking on what we can use to make life better for people. And the first topic we are visiting today is about depression and mental health disorder. I just want to be sure that everyone is with me. Yes. If you're with me, I just want us to play around with the reactions on the button. Oh, amazing. Thank you. So that brought about this topic today, depression and mental health disorder. You will agree with me that this has been a big challenge in the life of everyone. And I thought to myself, why can't you, in your own little way, bring this information closer home? I'm happy to be part of this home. And thank you for accepting me to this home. I have no other person on this platform because really we want to make good use of our time. I have no other person on this platform to invite for this maiden edition and to dabble into this topic other than my dear brother, my friend, and he's a big man now, but then he was my little brother because his elder sister and myself were friends. We were in the choir together back home in Nigeria. And it's amazing for me to see the wonderful things that Samuel Adebowale has been doing in this regards. Why I called him up is because nobody can speak of a situation better than the person who has experienced it. He has gone through it. I will quickly want to invite my dear friend, my brother, and who I call him Papi Sam. That is those of us who grew up with him then, that is the name we give to him. But before he comes up, for you to know that we are not bringing anyone, but somebody with experience, I will quickly read his bio for us to know who we are inviting to this platform. It says, Samuel Olufemi Adebowale is an experienced, certified, professional, faith-based counselor, a recovery therapist with special interest in mental health, trauma, abuse, addiction recovery, with over 9 years work in his bag of experience. He is the lead counselor of Exhale Space Therapy and the lead therapist of the Papi Sam Support Group, a member of the counseling team at the Attitude Development Center, Lagos, Nigeria. He has an advanced diploma certificate in mental health counseling from Attitude Development International, amongst other professional certification. He is an associate partner with Chinwin, which is Center of Women, Health and Information. He is a counselor with the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Friends of Jesus, a member of the African Network of Professional Counselors and Counseling Association of Nigeria, a scheme intelligent professional from Mold Africa, a support coach on 100 Days of Growth with LDJ. He had the privilege to speak on several platforms, live and recorded television shows, radio shows, social media platforms, etc. He is passionate about the mental health of all groups of men, women, boys, girls, and he loves doing that. This is our guest, and as I open the floor for him, I also want to use this time to just appreciate, I won't be able to mention names, but I want to appreciate all my mommies, my friends, my sisters, and my brothers, and especially my amazing husband, Charles Imuzeze, who has been my backbone, pushing me to tell me that this is what you can do. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. As we will be opening the floor for our guests, Papi Sam.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me clearly. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much. So, good evening. Thank you. Back then, you say Sister Lizzy, but now, thank you, Ma. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So each time I have the privilege to speak, I always see it as an opportunity to help someone become better. Because one of the things that God told me about what I do is that the devil has majorly captures the mind of people. The Bible says that the captives of the mighty has is taken away, and the prayer of the terrible delivered, and he will contend against those that contend against us. And those things are battles of the mind. Like Joyce Meyer said in one of her books, that the greatest battle you can fight is the battle in the mind. And that is where the devil capitalizes. That is where he would position himself to capture the heart and souls of men. No wonder Peter says that he wishes that we be in good health and prosper, even as our soul prospers. So the soul prosperity is major. And because I was going to do this, of course, I had some experiences, met different people, and today I'm able to be of use to us. Yeah, so mental health. I'll start by what it is not before I say what it is. Mental health is not mental illness. Mental health is the health of the mind, how healthy your mind is, how you're able to do your cognitive activities. You're able to think, sleep, relax, use your mind, how peaceful, how calm your mind is. And mental illness, simple, is just a sickness of the mind. So whenever we have mental health, don't let us be afraid, or don't let it give us a negative note in our mind. Mental health is just the health of the mind. It's that simple. Because I'm in a climate where when you say anything mental, people cringe and mental health. Maybe the person is not thinking right, acting well. It's just the health of the mind, just like physical health, spiritual health, and all the likes. And of course, mental illness is what we're here to talk about. But there are varying degrees. So it's not until when it gets to the level of psychosis. I mean, when the person has totally lose the cognitive ability and use of the mind and walks the street or needs help to be put together. Not until when it gets to that level. There are certain things that we need to put in place to make sure that our mind is healthy all the time. So as much as we go to the hospital to check our physical health, to check up once a year, it's also safe to see a therapist at least once in 2 months. That way, you decongest your mind, you say the things that are also you're able to trace back, you're able to heal well. If you have been hurt, if you've gone to trauma, if you've gone through any form of abuse or any form of mental struggles, and then we move on to life. But then it would just be fair that I would allow that we ask questions and I can answer your questions so that I can get to you directly. I don't just want to go and talk on the topic, let's just talk about all the issues. But then if there are specific questions to anyone here, ask your questions. I'll try to answer them. And then we can now just discuss generally, because impact is measured when we really, 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 really touch someone's life based on what they are going through or what they are feeling. That is when we can really measure the impact. So I didn't just want it to be a 1 hour of just discussion and just talking. I want everyone here to go back home with something they've learned or with a difference. But before we get to that point, depression. Depression is not just sadness. Depression is not feeling depressed. So feeling depressed, from a feeling, it comes and it goes. But when you're actually depressed, you must have been in that state for at least 2 weeks. So one of the things that we do is to run an assessment. So if you come and say, oh, I feel depressed, I have this issue, I'll run you through an assessment. That assessment will tell me how long you have been depressed, what the issue is exactly. So there are fortunate instances where people get recovery early because they speak up early and they get help early. And some people do not even speak up and they remain in that state for a long time. So one of the greatest challenges we have, even in the faith as Christians and even unbelievers, is that people do not talk about the things they go through, because anything mental health has a stigma on it already. So once you say you feel this way, people put a stigma to it. You might lose your job, you might lose some friends, people might give you space and feel, oh, probably there's something wrong with them. It can be traced back to our culture. Back in the days in my culture of Africa, Yoruba, when people want to get married, it is also in other cultures, they would ask that somebody should go and check that family. If they have an issue there, maybe if they have an history of madness or history of depression, something terrible. So once they know, they will say their child cannot marry into that family. Even in the faith, we do it. You go and pray, go and ask the Lord if that family is okay. If there's nothing there, once there's an issue, you cannot marry them. No, it's not possible. And then we put those measures in place just so that we don't get affected. But the truth is, these are conversations that gladly the church is having. The church is talking about. I've been on several platforms in different churches sharing this, and the church right now is trying to raise people that can handle such cases. Because yes, there is faith and there is work. Faith says we pray, we believe, it happens, but there's a place of work. The Bible says that faith without works is dead. So it is the work that we are doing now today to talk about the steps, the procedures, things to do to have a sound mind, to have a good mental health. And of course, we'll pray as well. Because in my practice, I start with prayer. We first go and seek the face of God if we should pursue, press on with the case. And if God says, hold on, we hold on. If God says, go ahead, we go ahead. So that at the end of the day, there is nothing that happens in the physical that hasn't been settled in the spiritual. So there's nothing that people go through that God cannot fix. Remember, He's the maker of the mind. He's the author and the finisher of our faith, of our being. In Him we live, we move, and have our being. In Him we are all. So that is the foundation I like to lay this evening here in Africa, but afternoon over there, so that we can ask questions. And please be free. Ask the questions. If you don't want us to know you're asking about yourself, ask anonymously. Ask like it's not you. Oh, I know someone that has gone through this. This someone can be you, and that person might not be you. But then speak up. Get help now. Now it is a time to get help. God has prepared this platform so that somebody here can get the help that they need. So don't let this opportunity slip away. And of course, we might not be caveat. We might not be able to treat or trash every issue here, because there are certain issues that we can't just give answers to. But then we can I can give an opportunity for a personal session therapy if you want to, because there's some issues that it's not a one-off conversation. I have to ask questions. I have to ask some investigative questions to be able to know the type of help that we need. And then the luxury of time is what we don't have here. So I think I'll pause here. Let's ask questions surrounding depression, mental health, anything you want to know, and then we'll pick it up from there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, Papi Sam. Thank you very much. You have broken it down, and I know that just like you have said, direction. The issue of depression and mental health is a personal thing. It's not so general for you to just open up. So if we have questions, please, we're free to ask. you can raise up your hands on the, you can use your reaction to let us know. Okay, I think I have one person who has just raised their hand up. I will call you, my dear sister Yinka. I will call you. But as she has raised her hand, she's going to ask a question. But I also want to tell you that in the course of your talking, we will also want to have an idea of what even made you to be a certified mental health consultant or trainer or coach. Because like I know you had an experience, and that's the basis I said you are the best person to come on this platform. You're going to speak, but since my sister is raising her hands up, I'll give her the
let me answer that before we get to her. She can note her questions down. That's part of the foundation that we need to lay. So please, Ma, I'd like to answer that question first before we come to you. Yeah. So I was raised by a single mom, and I grew up in a dysfunctional home. So my parents were separated for about 12, 11 years. So we're really never together. And I went to 9 primary schools, which you call elementary schools there, and about 4 secondary schools, because I'm the last born. So I was the most affected, went to different schools, met different people. At some point in my life, I stopped making friends because I knew it wasn't going to last. And then, of course, I got into uni, studied the 5-year course for 9 years. No thanks to ASU strike and all of that. But along the line, I discovered that I wasn't just the only one going through that phase. So in my final year in school, I did a course, agricultural psychology, that really opened my heart to the possibility that people can get help. Because I see a lot of people around me struggle. But there was one person that really geared me into going professional over it. So I would say that because I studied in uni, were the foundation of being a psychologist, because it was more like studying human behavior, human reasoning. So I did agricultural extension and rural sociology, but I majored in rural sociology. That's to do with the behavior minds of people. But then towards my final year, I lost a very dear friend to me. His name is Damilola Kaleson. We were close. We had a lot of things in common, as far dysfunctional home, single parent, and I'd gone through a lot at that time. But then, close to when it passed, we had some conversations about what he had gone through, what he wished for to have in the future, and how that he had lost the will to even go forward. And then he said something like, well, if God wants to take me, I should just take me. Let's go ahead the whole thing now. But then it was just 21. So I felt there is hope, encouraging, prayed about it. Then I went on a retreat. It was while I was at that retreat that I got a call that he passed on. And it really taught me. It taught me in the sense that we had a plan, and I was planning to go all out to help him become mentally balanced, because he had been through a lot of things for his age at that time. He had gone through a lot of experience. And because of that, one of the things we talked about was that I was going to be professional. I was going to get my certifications. So because of him, I signed up for the course. And then I went back to school for another 3 years to study. Until date, whenever I'm in session, whenever I have clients, I always have that voice at the back of my mind, because I remember I said to me clearly that I know this is your gift. You must use it. I have this picture in my room. I see it every day. I just put it there. So it reminds me of where I'm coming from and where I'm headed. So there's always that one person or that one situation or that one event that pushes you to be what you're going to be. I didn't plan that I was going to get to this part where I'll get invited from TV station, churches, RCCG, national conventions, and all those big platforms. It wasn't part of the plan. My own plan is just to help one person at a time, like Ben Carson said in his book, help one patient at a time, and is one of the people that is some sort of role model to me when it comes to pursuing a career. And then I got to this point where I started, I became professional. And through this, all my siblings have gone to therapy. My mom has gone to therapy. They're doing well. And because one of the things that hampers the mind of a man is trauma. When you've gone through a traumatic experience, loss of a loved one, a parent missing in your life,
Abuse.
sudden loss of job, different type of loss that we go through, trauma that happens, and
Yeah.
an accident, a sudden change of lifestyle, it leaves that impediment in the mind of that person. So one of the gifts that therapy has brought to us is recovery, is healing. Healing is a journey. Healing is real. Healing happens. But our response to healing determines how fast we heal. And for me as a person, of course, in my practice, I am meant to go in for therapy at least once a month because I meet a lot of people, I hear a lot of things, and then I also go back and then we go and empty our mind content, refresh, and then we keep working. So even Jesus got to Gethsemane and he was tired. He was like, God, left on me, take this cup, let's all go and rest. But the Bible records that angels came to minister to him and was able to continue. So that is him receiving help when he needed it. So everybody can receive help, you all can receive help. So that's the story, the background story to why I decided to get into it. One thing I left out is at that period, I have an auntie. She's in her late 50s now. She's not married. She was once married, and then her husband left. She doesn't have a child. So once in a while, she just call me, Sam, let's hang out. So I'll go to her house. But that day, I had a strong urge to see her. So I went to her house. She was crying. She had started to cut herself with knife and blade. She was in her house. And then I just sat down with her and I just told her, all I want to do is to hear you out, listen to you. And she was like, nobody has ever listened to me. So I sat down. For 3 hours, she just kept talking and talking and talking. At some point, she would curse, she would cry. I was just there. All she needed was someone to listen to her. Yeah. Then afterwards, she said she wanted to sleep. I got her food, but I didn't let her sleep alone. I sent her to one of our, so I'm in a school fellowship alumni, which is a member. So I sent her to the house of the chairman, who is like a friend from uni, like Paddy. So I sent her, they went there together. She spent the night there, she was good. And she called me the next day and she was like, are you a professional? Like what I said, what I did that day was what she said. She tried to do a training to be a psychotherapist, but she didn't go through to it because she just felt it won't be real because of what she was going through. And she was like, those are the things they taught them. Those are the things that they did. That like, I'm not at that time, I've not done any training, but I've learned something about the Holy Spirit. If you want to get the Holy Spirit, you have to be able to listen. And I just knew that listening would help, and when your mind is still, you hear even more than what the person is saying. So she gave me a note to call someone, and that was how I got into ADI College of Counseling and Psychotherapy, which is affiliated with University of Philadelphia over there. So we're able to do that course professionally. We had foreign instructors, Nigerian instructors. It was a beautiful experience. And then that was what I left out. But then what pushed me was my very, 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 very close young friend, Damilola Majorly, and here we are. And along the line, I've been able to, speak to his mom, the siblings, therapy at different points. And I wish that he got the help that he needed at that time.
Oh my God.
That is where I would stop. Now let's ask the questions.
Now the question will come now. And I'm happy that he was able to bring up this because I know the basis. People want to know that, okay, why, how, and what comes about it. And thank you for that. I will call on Sister Inka. I see Mr. Adebote also. All right, ma'am, Mrs. Inka, you can go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, our guest speaker. I have 3 questions to ask. I'm going to ask the questions together. The first one is, how do we know that this person is truly depressed? Because I've seen a situation whereby a sister said to a sister that she's depressed, and she said, oh, you are depressed. If you see someone that is depressed, you will know you are not depressed. So that's my first question. How do we know? The second one is, if we truly see that this person is depressed, we know that she's depressed, how can we help? Because I've seen a situation where I say, if you are depressed, take yourself out, find a man that will make you happy. Thank God we have someone that can explain to how do we help in a situation like this, that we find someone that she is truly depressed. How
Okay.
can we help?
Let me answer the two questions, ma'am, before we go to the third, so
Okay.
that we don't lose touch
Okay.
with the
Yeah, that would be
questions.
nice. Yeah.
So, depression is not a sad feeling. Depression is a state of the mind, but then it happens silently. So, one of the major symptoms of people that are depressed is they will lose interest in things that were previously pleasurable to them. They might stop going out, stop dressing up, they'll lose sleep. Sleep is one of the major things. And then losing sleep is not what happens all of a sudden. Maybe it may be that you lose 2 hours of your sleep, or you didn't sleep well, and then before you know it, it will then increase. So sometimes it might just be that you woke up at 1 a.m. in the morning and then you couldn't go back to sleep. And then at some point, you'll be up at 3 a.m., you can't sleep. At some point, you lose sleep throughout the night. So loss of sleep is a gradual thing, of course. And when you see people that are depressed, there are different symptoms, but you have to be sensitive to know which is which. They might, if the a person is someone that has good appetite for food, they might lose it. If it's someone that really doesn't eat so much, the appetite might increase. So it's in both sides of the of the stream. Permit me to use that word. So there are different symptoms of people that are depressed. Like I said, I'll go over it again. Loss of sleep, loss of interest in things that are previously pleasurable to them, loss of appetite. Let's see, there are lots and lots of them. So that's why to pick out the symptoms, I might need to understand what the person's lifestyle is about, what the person does, and what led to it. The symptoms might be that they start abusing substances. They drink more soda, they use more of substance that they should use in little amount. They abuse medication. So there are different symptoms. It might be subtle and it might be very severe symptoms that you will see. Of course, the person's outlook, appearance will change. The person might no longer care for how they look, what they wear. There might be a color code incident where they start to wear lots of dark colors and stuff. And people's depression might stem from a temporary problem. So because you can't make ends meet and you can't settle bills, you feel depressed. And after that is sorted, it lifts. But there are people that they have all that they need to life, but they're still in that situation. So what you can do is two. It's either, if you're close to them and they can speak to you, encourage them to speak up and share what is bothering them. It's major. And if that cannot happen, refer them to someone that can help them. But before you can refer them, make sure that they are open to discussion or conversations.
Yes,
let them know that, oh, you need to get help. Now, there's some people that might not need to get help. You might throw help in their face. I've had cases where I have I invited someone to see a movie with me. I sent that person a video talking on depression, symptoms. So when the person saw himself in those videos, things he was going through, was able to ask me more questions and he got the help that he needed. And then you might have events or programs like this that can just invite the person that say, oh, come on, there's this program I'd like you to attend. From there, what they would hear there and what they would see there will make them realize that they really have this issue and they need to get the help that they need. So those are ways which you can help people. Now, helping people is not about you. It's about if that person wants to receive help. I've seen situations where people, they know they need help. I know I need help, I have a problem, but they don't want to get help. And you cannot help people that do not want to be helped. And that's the downside of our practice. So many times about people walk into my counseling room and I've asked them, do you think you need help? They say, no, they said I should come. So I came. Do you think you have an issue? Say, no, I'm fine. No, I don't know what they are seeing. No, I can't see it. And that will be the end of the session. because you really can't help people that do not have help. But then I'll still give them an opportunity. Go back home and think about why these people have asked that you come into session. Some will come back and say, okay, I think I need help. And some will say, well, I just want to do this for them, not because I need the help. At that point, you don't negotiate further. So if someone has come to you to say, I think I'm depressed, then refer that person straight away to a counselor, a therapist, people that can help professionally. But then engage them. Why did you conclude that you're depressed? What is the problem? It might be a problem that you can solve for them that will lift the depression. Because depression is in varying degrees. So it's good when people talk about it when it's still mild, when they know, okay, they can still get help. But when it becomes chronic or severe, it takes a lot of effort for those kind of people to recover. I hope I've been able to answer your questions, ma'am.
Mrs. Inka Daniels, I hope.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, then the third question, ma'am.
The third question I want to ask, does depression kills?
Of course. So the downside of depression is suicidal ideation. You start thinking of killing yourself, and at the end of the day, suicide. So it does actually, and that's why we're talking about it. That's why we need everyone that is depressed to get help so that we don't lose them, and for them to know that you can get help and depression can lift. You can recover from it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That last question, yes, I have seen it. I have heard it. Depression can kill, which the end result is always a suicidal thought. And if the person is not taken care of, the person can end up killing his or herself. So I have Mr. Debote online on raising his hand since, so you would have the opportunity to speak, sir. But just want to say that as we are listening, like I said, it's not about you and me alone. It's a guide, it's a leading. We have people who are depressed. We have friends. You would see that this person has changed. What's happening? So with that, you'll be able, with the questions that guest has said you ask, would do that, and with that, we'll be able to understand. So, Sadebote, please, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mommy Lizzy and Papi Sam, if you permit me to call you that, sir.
Yeah, sorry, fantastic. I like that. Thank you, sir.
Yes. I think this question cannot be coming at a better time than now, especially when we have a lot of issues happening here and there. Tension, stress, and you have a lot of people not meeting their goal and they want to try as much as possible to do it. And if you're not able to do it, they resort into something else. I want to share an experience and I'll ask a question. I had a friend when I was in University of Ibadan. He happens to be a medical student. And at the year I was supposed to be off campus, I decided to stay with him. And that was the time he wanted to write his second MB. And I noticed that some things changed about him. And he doesn't sleep. And at the point in time, he started hallucinating, and it was a case of it became a medical case. And we had to call friends together to see how we can help him. And a lot of us don't have experience, and that's where I'm also going. At that time, we don't have experience. We don't know how to counsel him. But I took it upon myself to take him home. He stays in Lagos then and Ajugule. I remember that night we got to Ajugule quite late at night. I had to sleep in the hospital with him and came back to University of Ibadan. Now, what I'm asking is, what led to his depression was the fact that he had pressure.
I can't
You
hear
didn't get that, sir.
On how to pass his exams. And all this made him to start behaving funny. And
can you say that again? He had what? I lost you at that point, man.
Sure.
Okay. he started talking to a certain faith that is different from his own faith. People were coming to him, telling him different things. You know, you have to approach this way and the other way. And that got him confused. And before we could say anything, he lost it. And I was happy that he went home, came back, he wrote his receipt, and he passed all his 3 papers in one sitting. So at that point in time, it could have happened to anybody. And if care was not given, he might have lost it. So what I'm trying to ask is, what actually got him into that condition? That's one. And secondly, how best can people help when we see people in this kind of condition? Because we have so many people in this kind of condition and we don't know what to do and how best to do it. Even when we're talking about professionals, there are paucity of information about how to get these professionals.
Exactly.
So that's my question.
Okay, all right. So I know that anxiety leads to mental stress, and then leads to probably schizophrenia or being bipolar and all of those, or probably let's even adapt to. So it gets to a point where he starts talking to himself, hallucinating. Now, one of the major things that affect or that gets the mind upset is when we don't get enough sleep and the mind do not get enough rest. Like you said, he started to lose sleep, probably has read, studied hard, read for major exams, those things that we do in school, where we want to read over the night and then exam period. I remember too, when I was in school, I had a friend, Al Ikman, a Muslim student, and she was approaching first class then, very brilliant girl. And then I know she read that night, read a lot and all of that. But was doing one of the exams that she just ran out of the hall, and then the psychosis journey for her began. But she didn't recover. She passed on years after. You know, so that's where we say that people should not stretch the mind more than the limit that it can bear. And that's one of the things I do when I speak to students, that you need to know your capacity to learn, to read, when to rest, how to rest. For people like me, throughout my days in uni exam period, I'm always sleeping and attending tutorials because I read from day one. I can't read under pressure. We did a test in my department then at the beginning, not every department. So I discovered myself. So back in the days, I read from day one of class. At the end of every week, I would read. And at the end of every month, I would read. And then in my fellowship, we had this thing called reading in his presence. We read together. So it was easy for me. So exam time, I would just go to tutorials just to refresh my mind. And I go and sleep. Write my exam, go and sleep. And I made my fantastic 2-1 by the grace of God. But the thing is, when we do not understand how our mind works and the limit with which we can study, we overstretch it. Just like when you stretch a rubber band, it gets to elastic limit and it won't come back to the former state easily, coupled with the new things he was taking into his mind at the time that he was studying. So it was probably too much for his mind to contain. Then hallucination will start as the very first stage of schizophrenia, when you start talking to yourself, saying things, sharing voices, and all of that. But thank God that quickly got help early enough. If he had stayed that way for a long time, he may not have been able to get help on time. So that was what I said at the beginning when I said that once you notice visible changes about people, encourage them to get help as early as they can, early enough. So one of the major campaign trails of mental health in Nigeria today, or all over the world today, is help is here. Get help now, get help on time. Because if you get help on time, we're able to salvage it early enough. But when it stays there for a long time, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of work, and a lot of prayer and faith to help the person rebound. And that's that about that. Of course, there are people like that. And then one other thing that may have added to him maybe is feeding habit, is diet. I remember then in school, we don't eat well, but want to study well. The brain needs a particular amount of sugar to function. The mind needs to be refreshed as well. So because we want to make some great study hard, we don't sleep, we read around the clock, want to go to class, and then the mind would request back for it. And it leads to all of those stretches at that time, probably because of the way we study here in Africa. It's not totally healthy, but then it's what we do. And I think a lot of those things may have affected him. His sleeping habit, feeding habit, his lifestyle may have resulted into what happened to him. But if we're able to run him through assessment, we might even make some more discoveries and know how to help that person. So for everybody out there, like I said, stress is one major thing that affects the functionality of the mind. For people that live in cities that have high stressors, like Lagos, like large cities, China, all over those places that you've been traffic for a while, everybody goes at the same time, returns at the same time. You have to develop a lifestyle that helps your mind to be sound. Live in close proximities to your work places, your faith places, so that you don't overstretch and then it doesn't really affect you. For example, I used to have a client that comes into session every weekend. He comes in cranky and all of that. I just suggested to him, why don't you move out of the city you're in at the moment? Ask them at your workplace for a transfer to a much more quiet city, much more stable, which he did. He moved his family back there. And ever since then, he has been doing well and doing good. So the stresses of where he lives, the city he lives in, has affected him such that he has lost touch with his children, has become cranky to his wife. So there was one time he shouted on the wife, said he was almost beating the wife when he realized that this is not me. What's happening to me? Then he turned himself in for therapy, and we're just able to discover where the problem lied, and he got the help that he needed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know that this topic we can't flog it enough. I know. So we're going to continue, but as promised, we're going to spend just an hour for this. And I know the next session is also going to be explosive. We want to keep to our time and we don't want to rush things. We want everybody to understand what we're talking about. The goal of this presentation, of this meeting, is for us to be able to get this message. So we're going to call on, I know Pastor PC raised his hand up. I hear he has something to say. I can see Lily too. She also raised her hand. And I can also see my mommy raised her hand too. Mommy, I would give you opportunity to speak too, ma. All right, PC, you have the floor. And please, let's make it brief because of our time. Thank you.
There's a question in the chat box. Can you also consider that?
Okay. Well done, Mai. And Sam, thank you very much for your presence. My question has to do with people like us, pastors. I want to ask Papi Sam. Do you think we have what it requires to counsel somebody that is depressed?
Okay, so I have a little issue with pastors. I used to pastor, but I don't pastor anymore, because I discovered that pastors are not particularly listeners. So for anyone that's counsel, you have to find comfort in listening to people 1 hour, 2 hours, and probably all you have to say just a sentence or just a word or a phrase, and that's it. But then if you go through training as a pastor, then you'll be able to help. But if we talk about the lay pastors that just want to preach, talk all the time, the listening thresholds for pastors are really little. But I see pastors today going in for trainings professionally, so they're able to help, because you are also at the forefront of this, just like we are. You have people that are predisposed to all of these mental health struggles. So I'd advise that pastors should also go for trainings, get equipped, and then you can always strike that balance between when you are going to speak for 2-3 hours and when you're going to listen for 2-3 hours as well. And of course, it would help in both ways, basically. Yeah. So there's a potential there if the pastors are willing to harness it.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one, because many times some pastors have more time preaching, the congregation, all that. That family time is missing. Relationship time is missing. Those things
Exactly.
causes.
I was going to get to that point as well. That was what I meant by saying striking that balance.
Balance, yeah.
So that your time is scheduled and you don't shift your time for no reason. Like for example, now after this time out, at least today is a Saturday, so I've been home with my wife and all of that. After this time out, again, that's the end for today. No, I don't do sessions on weekends, Sundays, Fridays. So I just work twice a week. So if I'm going to schedule anybody, you have to work with me to that twice a week, because other days of the week are for other things that I do and for other people that are dear to me. So we have to be able to have that balance and to really, 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 really work.
Thank you. Lily, you have the floor. I will read the question because Lillian's hand has been up for some time. Lydia's hand has been up. Please, you have the floor.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate this section. The only reason I'm going to say something now is because I heard the counselor say something about meeting someone who confirms that he or she doesn't feel depressed, that the person was only asked to come and see him or see a counselor, and at that point when the person doesn't accept that they don't feel depressed, then you cannot do anything about it, or you have to let them go. I'm also a counselor in training, and I know, like, most times you don't have to force people, but mental health is that situation where the brain itself cannot interpret to the brain, unlike other ailments. Like if you're sick, your brain interprets to your body that your temperature, you're sick or you feel pain. But when you get to the point of your mental, when there's a disability, that's your mental health issues, your brain cannot even interpret to your body. So as a counselor, it takes a lot for people to even convince somebody to say, go and see a counselor. So when you get to a counselor knows better. When you get to that point and the person says, I'm not depressed, then you should know this is another level. Because definitely there's actually something wrong with that person. It takes a lot to convince somebody who has that situation to get to that point. Okay, so now for me, it's just a suggestion. At this point, that means that person needs an extra help to go to somewhere, because most of these situations, aside counseling, they also need medication. So at the point where the brain can no longer interpret to the body that your brain is not working well, then that person should be on some level of medication to bring a balance. So if the counselor doesn't administer medication, then it should be able to refer the person in a style to seek for higher help. Okay, I see you're not depressed, fine, but I would like you to see this particular man. Then maybe you can refer them to a real mental hospital. But if they hear it's a mental hospital, they will most times not want to go, because I've had experience with people like that. So I want you to also look at it and tell me what you think about this situation. But that is what I would do if I was in that place, because I know, yes, this person really needs more help. Because if people think you need help and you say you don't need help, I won't just let you go and let the person in that person's life start all over from page 1 to get the person to seek for help. Thank you.
Thank you for asking this question.
My brother, sorry, Papi Sam, please hold on. Because of our time, I just want everyone who has raised their hands up to be able to ask their questions. Please try not to forget your response to Lydia's question. So I have Mommy Oluwayeni. She's been raising her hand up. I want Mommy to talk. Well, as she's coming up, I'll quickly read because what I have from Labode Adebola is, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, PL, for this program. Please, how do you handle someone that you know he has every symptoms and signs of depression, but yet pretending he's okay, whereas he is not okay? That's one question. And I think I have one question from Dr. Vera James. He says, okay, I think she's making a reference. That's the interpretation on what the speaker said. Okay, you really cannot help one who doesn't think he needs help. All right. Mommy, are you still here?
Please let me answer so that I don't.
All right. Because I really don't want us to shoot
I'll make
out.
it very brief. Yeah.
Didi, I can see your hands up, sir. You will speak soon.
At the same rate, at the same channel with which someone does not believe that they need help, it's still the same channel they will use to receive help. So if that channel is blocked, there's really nothing you can do. Now that is where faith comes in. So one of the things I do is I go back home and ask God, you sent this person to me. How do I break into this person and make this person know that they need help? And most of the time God speaks. And I remember I had a case like that. So I just invited the person, let's just take a walk, take a stroll together. And we're just talking and this thing. And the guy goes, actually, bros, I know that I need help. It's just that these people are just pressuring me. And then he started to speak by himself. And then he said, okay, between me and you, don't let them know that I'm receiving help from you, but I need help. Just tell them that you're speaking to me. So sometimes most of these people are ashamed about coming to receive help, and they feel that their privacy has been invaded. And that's why most times these things are a bit personal. So the guy got the help that he needed at the end of the day. Now, the downsides of medication. Those medications offer temporal solutions. After the effect has wound off or gone down, whichever word we're going to use, they return back to that same state. So they have to be on those medication for a while. So they are maintenance medications. I have a client at the moment. She's had to use like 5 of those medications per day. So one of the things we did for her in therapy is to do a day on, a day off, and then from there we did 1 day on, 2 day off, and then she can go 3 days without medication and she's fine. And then a change of lifestyle, the things she used to do, how she used to go to the store, come back, the stress reduced, her lifestyle changed, and her medication reduced until a point where the psychiatrist at the hospital told her that they don't think she needs medication anymore. They were not aware that she was going in for therapy until later when they now asked her, so how did you recover? And then she told them that she signed up for therapy. So that's why at first I don't recommend medications. But when you know that somebody really needs help, so one of the ethics of being a therapist is to separate your emotions from your job. So there's a part of, oh, I feel that this person needs help. This person go and get help. But my job ethics do not permit me to cross that line of my personal feelings and emotions in practice. And then, of course, I engage every skill that I have. I engage every practice that I know and every option that is available for that person. And if all through those options, the person still feels I don't need help, I give that person one last straw. I tell the person, go home, think about it, take your time. 1 month, 2 months, they always come back. Maybe 2, 3 months after, 1 month after, I just receive a call. Oh, I saw you in a March, and now it is November. I think I need that help. You always give them that time to make their decision. What everybody wants is to make their decisions by themselves. And they said, oh, okay, I need help. I'm going into it. And that's what we do. Of course, as a courtier in my field, I do follow up. So every month I call all those outstanding clients. I just call them. My name is Papi Sam, therapist. I just said to check on you. Hope you're fine. Hope you're good. Have a good day. And then they could say, I'll call you back, or we need to talk. We follow up, but we follow up carefully at a distance so that we don't get ourselves involved in their personal lives. And then they know that we respect them. So once they see that we respect them, they come back for the help that they need. But then on the background, because of the burden that God has placed upon our heart, have a list of them. I pray for them. I pray for each of them. I send them texts just to know that I'm here. Anytime you need to talk, I'm available. And just at their time, they just come. And at that time, it's very easy to help them and work with them. So that is how that works. Actually, Auntie Lily, if you get that. And thank you for getting into training. We need more people like you. We need a lot of people in this field.
I'm really impressed with what she said. She's my very good friend, very supportive, and God will help you to fulfill that as we help the world. And there was one comment I skipped. It's from my mama. She's a pastor too. She said, yes, sir, pastors should go for training. Yes, she's supporting you. She's agreeing with what you're saying. So any pastor on the platform, go for training. Your co-pastor is advising. Yes, I didn't see Mommy Oluwayemi again on the platform. She's not raising her hand.
Yeah, here.
Okay, Mommy, you have the floor. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much, my sister and Mr. Adewale, for this wonderful session.
Yes, Mommy.
First of all, I wanted to add to it that, yeah, pastor needs to go for training. Is very important, because some of our pastors are depressed and they don't even know that they are depressed. That's just the word.
Yes, I agree.
And that's why you find out that a lot of people, they drop down on the altar, they die there, you know, just because some are going through a lot, nobody to discuss with. Like I was talking during the ministration of Tuesday, I was telling many people that, you know, Christendom is, at times you find out, we're talking about joy. You find out that at times you ask a question that, can we really have joy, even as Christians? Because you see, why am I saying that? And why am I asking that question? The question is because that when you are outside there are things that unbelievers, they will react to. You as a child of God, you cannot react to it. But you are just there alone, you know, wallowing in all sorts of pains and everything. There are things that will happen and you, if they should hear about this, what will it, how will it be? You are just there. And at the end of the day, on daily basis, you are getting more and more depressed and you don't even know. So we need to be very intentionally, as children of God, as Christians, especially as pastors, intentionally handle this issue so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to have a good story to tell. The other section, you know, where I'm going is about, you know, it's just an advice too. For parents, we need to be careful the way we talk to our children, the way we address them, being sensitive to the way they react. When you notice anything like a change or in their behavior, the way maybe they are moody, somebody who is a little bit active, before you just discover that things are going wrong, you need to be very conscious of it. The story of recent that happened in America of a close friend of mine is a pastor. The woman is a pastor in charge, is a prayer warrior, and she's the one in charge of the prayer session in the church. This boy just went and committed suicide. And what am I saying? They have 6 children. Out of the children, nobody knew about. Even the day he was going to commit suicide, the mom was the one that opened the gate for him. But they just noticed that of recent he has just been a little bit withdrawn, but you know, they didn't even take it as anything so seriously. He left a note, which they saw, and the note says that, sorry, please, I have to do this because I felt that I'm the only one that is giving you pain in the family.
Oh, Jesus.
And what happened? Nobody talked to her because during the COVID, all his other, he failed this exam, so he couldn't get in for the royal institution. All the other ones were doing well. And he just felt that, you know, he's the one that was giving problem. And nobody talked to her, nobody abused him, you know. So, brother, let's be conscious. And when even you find out there is one of a child that is not doing well or is having issue, please draw that child closer to yourself and be part of the life of that child. Let the child know that, you know, say good words and wonderful things that the child will not be able to go and think otherwise. So let's be careful the way we handle situation of things. Ourselves, even within husband and wives, and so many other issues. The Lord will help us in the name of Jesus. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. I
appreciate you. Your contribution is also amazing. Thank you, Ma. Our time is fast spent, but I promise I'm going to attend to Didi, who has been raising his hand up. Sister Lydia, well, let's just see whether we can. So you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mama. Thank you for this opportunity. It's a wonderful program. Sorry I joined late. Thank you, sir. It's been very insightful thus far. I just want to ask 2 quick questions. Is it because I joined late, is it determined that everybody that is depressed is a depressed person, someone that has that is suffering from a mental issue? Is it sacrosanct? Is that the definition? I want to know that. Then 2, there are people that they're full of mood swings. You know, so how do you determine someone that is?
I can hear you.
You're muted, sir. Yeah.
Can you hear me now, sir? Ma?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, someone that is swinging in and out of moods, how do you determine, or rather, how do you separate such a person from somebody that is depressed? You know, you may, when that person is in a certain mood, it may appear as depression. So how do you like separate someone suffering from mood swings with someone that is depressed? Thank you very much, sir. Those are my questions. Bless you, Pastor Lizzy. Thank you very much for this program.
Okay. So to the first question, yeah. Depression doesn't happen outside the mind, it happens in the mind. So it shows that it's a mind problem. But like I said earlier, it's in varying degrees. It can be subtle, it can be severe, it can be chronic, it can be mild within the range. You know, so I'll say it again, it can be subtle, just little, it can be mild, it can be severe, and it can be really, really severe. That's chronic part. You know, but it if you don't have a mind, you can't be depressed. So it happens inside the mind, not outside the mind. So it's a mental health thing. But like I said at the beginning, that mental illnesses are in varying degrees. But we always want to see from the chronic angle, you know, the psychosis, the severe ones. They feel okay. The truth is, I would say this, that everybody has a degree of mental health struggle. If you go to work, you're stressed, you're tired, you want to sleep, your mind is stressed. You know, so there's a degree. You know, when you feel happy, you feel sad, emotional flows. You know, but then one of the things we're clamoring for is that you're able to manage your mind, and you know you are able to see the information that you're receiving, you take in and you let out. You're able to ensure that you are at the gate of your mind to determine what happens. You're in control of it. So one of the things that I also would like to encourage us to be is to be in charge of our mind, even for our children. The things we hear, we see, we feel. Like they say that what people said, you might forget, but how they make you feel, you would remember. And that's one thing I need us to always have at the back of our mind, our feelings, note them, emotional intelligence, how what someone said made you feel, and you're able to manage those feelings. Now to the other question that I'm trying to remember the question. Can somebody help me?
Brad, Dolapo, please give us your first question or the second question. I can't remember either. Okay, I remember now. Can you, is depression the same as mental health? Can you say somebody has depression?
I was even talking about people with mood swings.
The mood swing.
The mood swing thing, yes.
Yeah, mood swing.
Yes.
Mood swing.
Yeah, so of course, people that have mood swing are people, how do I say that now? There are different degrees of mood swing. There's something called bipolar disorder. So a mild part of it is mood swing. When this minute you're happy, you're everywhere, next minute you're just there. And then it has to do, now those things can be traced to probably trauma that has been in the life of that person, issues that have happened in the past, present, and then things that the person may have gone through to bring about that mood swing. So that person needs to get help as soon as we can. So nobody should live with mood swing. Now you're happy, then you're sad. Probably if person remembers something, it makes them sad. Maybe after a while they're happy and then they go again. So that's, and it's a function of the mind as well. It doesn't happen outside the mind, it happens in the mind. But we need to run the person through an assessment and make sure that they'll give us clarity on what the person may have gone through. Just like when we go to the hospital, we have to do tests, you know, blood runs and checks for the doctor to know what the issue is. That's just the way we ourselves need to run people through assessment to know what the issue is, or what is responsible for certain character displays in people or behavioral pattern, and they were able to fix it. So I think I would peg it at that. But of course, mood swing shows that the person has the mental struggle going on that has to be addressed or fixed.
All right.
And then, of course, mood swing can be as a result of temperaments too. There are varying kinds of people with different temperaments. So an example of temperaments that may have severe mood swings are the phlegmatic, the choleric, and then the sanguine. The sanguine are the guys that are always there out there, JV, life of the party, but then they get back home to their old self and they remember their troubles and they're down again. The choleric, yes, they want to get something done, goal oriented. Once they are not getting it done, it begins to affect them.
Yeah.
You know, so of course the phlegmatic are the really, really withdrawn guys, the introverts. So that can actually smile, then go back to their shell. So when you find people alternating between both, it's one of the symptoms that there's a mental struggle going on. The person needs to get help.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. You see, I never imagined that we could get to this level of wanting more and more and more, but we have to call it a day because we promised 1 hour. Lillian, just 1 minute, please, because I want us to round up now. One minute. Please, shoot, ma.
Myself. Okay, I'm trying to unmute myself. Am I still muted?
No, you're not.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I know this is a very, 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 very sensitive topic and time is gone. But I'm talking about this because someone recently in this part of the world where we live in just threatened someone and said, I'm going to kill myself. And the security agent in this country hunted up this person like seriously down just to put that person in a psychiatric care for medication. I know I heard him say medication is not you have to get to that point. They didn't even give him the permission to accept. He didn't feel that he needed it, but he was put on medication immediately. So now he's being managed at home like, okay, take some days, don't take some days. Because like, if you're suffering from what they call it now, high blood pressure, even if you rest from that till next year, if you don't take your medication, if you get to a point, you will just kill yourself because of ignorance. So, just let's not rule medication out of it. Mental health is not a stigma. We should just preach that. It's not a stigma. It's like every other ailment. Accept it. If you have to take medication, if you are forced to take medication, take your medication.
Yes.
They don't like to, but it's very encouraged and it's okay to also pray about it.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you so much. I really appreciate. I love this section.
Thank you so much. And I thank you for your contribution. Well.
Sister Liz. Thank you, Pastor.
Yes. We'll just look at what we have on the chat box. Very interesting. I have one from Mommy Rekigbe. Most times, many of us pastors will say, "Oh, let's pray. Come to prayer meetings." While all the child or person's needs, what the person needs is just talking or someone to listen. Don't get me wrong, prayer is good, but at times we need to listen and in a good place to talk, which I agree, and that's why we are here. That is why we have people like Papi Sam. Please, his contact will be shared. He has some social media handles. You can reach him there. And Pastor Charles says, true, most people just need someone to listen to them. That man, that auntie that Papi Sam talked about, that spent 3 hours just talking. At the end of the day, she said, nobody has listened to me like this. People just want you to talk to them. Agree that the INE says, agreed with you completely, Ma. Adequate attention and care should be given to our families at all times, which is good. This one made me cracky. She says, there is punishment from God for any Christian being depressed. When God said, rejoice and be glad, I have overcome the world. Sister, crack up. Yes. You're right. Please don't allow God punish you because He has told you and I, rejoice evermore. Joy all the way. I don't have time, but somebody is raising his hand. I never knew the person is here. My wonderful big brother, my friend of over 30 years. Woo! Pastor BC in the house. Lisa, you have the floor, but please make it brief so that we can close. This is Pastor BC, internationally known for his amazing ministration to men and women, families, children, and all. Lisa, you have 1 minute, sir, so that we can round up.
Thank you, my sister. Thank you for the great work you are doing. Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you. Yes, you're here.
You are doing a great work. I'm really impressed. I'm proud of you, sister. Thank you. I just want to appreciate the great work you are doing. A lot of the problem we are having at home is actually a mental sickness most of the time, mental health issue. Then we thought it's for deliverance, but most of the time, what I encounter in marital counseling rooms, most of the time nowadays is about mental health. So our attention is being drawn to this, and I really appreciate you for what you have done. Thank you, everybody in the house. May the Lord bless you.
Thank you,
So,
Pastor Lizzy. I am so excited and happy to have you. And I know very soon we're going to call you to come and take the stage on this platform. And I know you will say no. You are my personal person.
Who am I to say no to Lizzy?
Oh, Lizzy of God. All right. Oh, we still have some things on the platform. We don't have time, but I'll just read. When a child is gentle and hardly talk, how will a person know? Well, these are questions we would attend to later. I really don't want to take our time. Right here in this country where we are, 1 hour is something. So I'm not taking it for granted. And I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Esther. God bless you, Auntie Lizzy. Thank you. Amen. I received that prayer. Thank you for coming. Papi Sam, God bless you. Thank you for this, a wonderful time. I know a lot of us have learned a lot, and we will keep learning. Please, as he has advised, if it is you or another person, make the effort to help and encourage people to speak up. And I'm not taking what Sister Inka said for granted. As a child of God, I know that God has given us joy, and joy cannot be weighed with anything. So let us also walk with that joy so that God will not be angry with us. Like she said, God will not punish us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Ms. Alainka. Thank you, Oluwatoyin Jegede, my wonderful friends and families, for this wonderful support you've given to me. I don't take it for granted. I want to say thank you to all my friends on the platform, to Mommy Woody, to Mommy Akishola. I can see all of them. I really appreciate you all. I don't want to start calling names. Oh, to my president, Mrs. Osayi of Women of Dignity, thank you. I see you all. You are all wonderful and amazing. Thank you for being here. Next time, we would want you to be here as well, because we'll have more time to talk about various things. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Papi Sam, you know I love you. I appreciate you. You're an amazing person. And I know when I call on you again, you'll be there for me.
By God's grace.
My first guest in Conversations with Lizzy. I appreciate you. And I appreciate every one of us that celebrated this first edition with us. We will see many more years and celebrate many more years. Jumoke, thank you. Sister Eyi, thank you. Pastor Vivian, thank you. Canada says thank you. Janet, thank you. I've just seen people that are sending messages and appreciating you. Please, if I didn't call your name, I still thank you. I thank you. Mommy Ayimoro, I see you. Thank you so much. Kike Banjo, I see you. Thank you. Thank you very much. God bless you all, and see you in our next one. And just know that I love you. Bye.